On today's episode of Always a Raven, I sit down with Terry Hansen, a 1969 graduate who went from Midwest roots to shaking up the sports world. Terry was a coach, a scout, broadcaster, and executive. Terry helped pioneer sports on cable TV, worked behind the scenes at Turner Broadcasting, led PGA Tour communications, and so much more. His story is of continued courage through all the years and how to be bold and always willing to stretch himself.
But 3 times later in my life, I saved people with CPR. Three
Wow.
out of 4.
Wow.
Pretty good. And as I always said to people, this is kind of my motto. People say, say something. And I say, no, don't say something. Do something.
Welcome to Always a Raven, a Benedictine College podcast that goes far beyond the brick streets of Atchison, Kansas. Hosted by Janelle Menz, Always a Raven offers a unique glimpse into Ravens from all generations. From where are they now to remember when, these conversations share career triumphs and personal milestones. So whether you are an alum looking to reconnect, a prospective student, or simply curious about what makes Benedictine College so special, join us and discover the enduring power of Benedictine College.
On today's episode of Always a Raven, I am joined by Terry Hansen. Terry graduated from Benedictine in December of 1968. He's originally from East St. Louis, and he currently resides in Eureka, Missouri. Fun fact about Terry Hansen is not only is he a PR radio personality for decades, Larry Wilcox is the reason that we got him at Benedictine College. Now that might be a stretch, but Terry told me the story before we got started, so I'll let him tell the real story, but I think that's pretty cool. Thanks so much for being here today, Terry.
My pleasure.
All right, well, tell us about that. So you went to high school with Coach Wilcox, is that right?
Yeah, we're both from East St. Louis.
Okay.
And Assumption High School was where we went. And I matriculated up to Benedict's as a freshman.
Yeah.
And he followed not too far after that. And then when I got my master's degree, I went to Southeast Missouri State in Cape Girardeau. And Larry followed me there. And that was kind of cool. And then a couple of years ago, a little braggadocio, he and I both went into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh my gosh.
And he was after me. And he goes, I've been following Hanson my entire career.
Well, that's a good person to follow from what I understand. So
it's all right, I guess.
Okay, well, let's go back then. How did you find out about Benedictine back in the 60s?
Well, I was a baseball pitcher of some note. I was being followed by the Mets. And at the end of the year, the scout told my dad, if we put a card in on a 5'8" pitcher, I could get fired. So I knew then and there that my career would not be in baseball. And I decided then and there I want to work in sports.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I decided to do, and that's what I did. And then the biggest break of my career came when Father Lambert, who was the head of the athletic board, called me in Cape Girardeau and asked me to come interview.
So how did you originally, when you were in high school and the Mets said, unfortunately it's not going to work, how did you get connected to Benedictine? I know there's always been strong ties to St. Louis, but was there somebody that said, hey, you should go to Atchison?
A lot of my classmates, in fact, 9 of my high school classmates were all on the same floor on St. Michael's Hall.
Oh, wow.
And I had baseball scholarships to like St. Mary's and San Antonio and other schools. And when I knew I wasn't going to be a pitcher for my career, I said, well, I should go where my friends are. And they only played like 9 games or 12 games.
Yeah.
And I wasn't going there for baseball anymore. I was going for my friends. And when I got there, I wasn't a great student, but it was the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah. Did you end up playing when you came to Benedictine?
Yes, I played my freshman, sophomore year.
And then you told me before we hit record that you went to Ralph Nolan and said, I want to coach my junior year. So were you at the point, like where were you at the point in your baseball career of playing that you were like, you know what? I'm going to hang up my hat and I'm going to, coach, or what motivated you to do that?
Well, I wanted to be a coach.
Oh, you did.
But
Okay.
also at the same time, being a coach for me was a prelude to what I really wanted to do, which was pro sports.
Okay. And then was there a stipend for that too? Did that help pay for maybe some graduate school and such?
Yes, it
Yeah,
certainly did. I was
sure.
very big at graduate school,
Yeah.
teaching and coaching and teaching afternoons at a PE at a great school. I mean, I had to make money.
Yeah, right.
Didn't have any, so
So when Ralph Nolan said, "All right, well, we'll do this because we don't have a baseball coach. You're a junior here. It's 1967,
68.
68, sorry.
No, you're no 67. You're right.
So how'd the team do that year?
Mediocre. I mean, we did okay, but the fact that there was somebody that was really interested in doing the job,
Yeah.
they were kind of pumped up about that, and I was really into it because I wanted to be a coach, and I borrowed a lot from my high school coach, and I incorporated it into my program. And when I came back, Father Lambert said to me when he interviewed me, "Look, we want to come back here. You come back here, and let's get this baseball program started." So they were playing like 9 or 12 games, and I came back the first year. I think we played 36.
And what was the difference from when you left in December of 68, you went to graduate school, and then when you
Right?
came back after graduate school, what was that time frame? Do you remember?
I left in January. I went to first semester and summer at Cape Girardeau,
Hmm.
and then the following, what would have been the first semester after college for me was my first year of coaching. So
Okay.
I was in the express lane.
So not that long. So that would was that 1970 then?
Yeah, no, I got back there. Yes, exactly, 1970.
Okay. And then how long did you coach baseball then?
I coached baseball from 70 through 75 when I left, and I coached soccer from 71 through 75 when I left, and that's a whole other story.
Now, did you know anything about soccer?
Not nothing.
What was that like? Talk about that. Were there any
Well,
stories you have of like the first game and you're like, what's a soccer
I
ball?
was I was a assistant coach to Tom Caldwell my freshman year, and he really couldn't wait to get rid of that coaching and get into basketball. So
Mm,
I was named the head coach. Actually, what happened was Father Gerard, the president, called me in and said, "Would you like to coach soccer?" And I said, "No, no, no." And he called me back a week later, and so we met and we decided that the baseball coach is well also coach soccer. And I said, "Well, all right, I think you got a deal." So I had to learn it. What I did is I did the same thing in baseball. I plucked a student that would have been like a sophomore or junior,
yeah.
who good a good player, but not good enough to do a lot of starting and playing. And I'd
Hmm.
say to them, Joe Beeliner in baseball and Don Klosterman in soccer, why don't you come be my assistant coach?
Yeah.
They were my assistant coach, my eyes and my ears. In baseball, Joe Beeline was very helpful, but in soccer, Don Klosterman essentially taught me the game as I went on. And the valuable time for him was when after dinner, they'd end up in the dorms and meet with the players, and they would say, "Hey, why don't we try this or why don't we do that?" And that's what he ended up doing. When I first took the job, they said, "Look, nobody recruits for us. We want to recruit St. Louis." I said, "Okay, that I can do. We also like to go on a couple of trips that are nice." I said, "That I can do." We went to Air Force Academy every year.
Oh,
And
wow.
we'd like to get new uniforms and stuff. I went, "I'm not sure about that." But I was able to get some. Soccer program was not what the way they really wanted it to be. I could motivate, I could coach, I could manage, I could coach, but I didn't know the game very well. Don
Hmm.
Coster taught it to me. And
Interesting.
as I tell people, no Don Coster, no 74 third place, no 74 third place. I don't go to the pros because I was coach of the year in the NAI.
Mm. Oh,
So
yeah.
I went from knowing nothing to being the coach of the year. Go figure.
That's crazy. So you guys were better than mediocre then from the soccer field when you were there.
We were we were pretty good. And the year we came to the Nationals in '74, play it was ironic we played in St. Louis. And on my roster, I had 26 players. 25 were from St. Louis. So we came home to play, and then there was a big article in the local newspaper about the farmers from Kansas, and they quoted me on the thing. I said, I don't think our guys have even seen a tractor, and they're all from here.
Yeah.
So people followed us pretty closely, and we ended up finishing third in the country.
That's tremendous.
Yeah.
Were you kind of like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Did you feel like a fish out of water? Because you put the right people around you, you felt like, okay, I can do this. I got some piece of the puzzle and they've got the rest.
I've always been a coach in everything I've done, even in the jobs I've had. I've looked at myself as a coach, not as an executive. And yeah, so it was, it was fun. It was good, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So when you said you pivoted from thinking you were going to play for the Mets and then you come here and you're coaching, and then most of your career outside of coaching has been in, you're a radio personality and the media and all of that. So did you know that that's how your profession was going to evolve, or did it just naturally go there?
All I wanted to do was work in pro sports. I wasn't certain which one, but I wanted to work in pro sports. And then I had a player who was an All-American up there named Keith Cordy, and he was drafted and went into the North American Soccer League in Rochester, New York.
Wow.
And he called me and he goes, "Hey, they're looking for somebody up here to work in marketing and public relations." I went, "Okay, well, great. I'll call him." And I went up for an interview, and I was hired. And I got there, and I had the job I always wanted, and I had no idea what to do.
What was
None.
that job? What was that job?
Public relations,
Okay.
director of public relations and marketing.
Okay.
And I also did the college draft because of the players that I knew. So
Yeah.
I was doing all that kind of stuff. And I worked in soccer, North American Soccer League in Rochester, New York, Washington, D.C. for 2 years. And then I also did television games. And the reason why I did TV games is interesting. Atchison Cable came on back in, I don't know, the mid 60s. And they're going to do Benedict's basketball. So I went down to the guy and he got asked for the order. And I went down. I said, "Who are you going to do your games?" He goes, "We don't have anybody yet." I said, "Well, I'll do them. You have any experience?" I go, "Yeah, sure." And I did. And I went up, they built this little press box over the top of the stands in Nolan Gym over there, the old Nolan Gym above the Roost. And I did that for like a year. And then that way I could tell people that I had done television.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't fake my way in, but I had it in my background.
Sure.
So and I did TV in Washington, and Ted Turner had bought a team in Atlanta. And he happened to be in a hotel room in Washington that night, and he saw the game. And he liked what I did. And so he had a guy call me the next day and said, "We'd like you to come down here and do our television games." And I said, "Well, what will my job be?" He said, "That's a job." And I went, "No, not really. What do you do now?" I said, "I'm the assistant general manager of Washington Diplomats." And he goes, "Well, come down here. We'll make you the general manager of the team." So I showed up in Atlanta to be the general manager of a soccer team. He already owned the Hawks and the Braves and became the third team that he owned.
Wow. So how did you find your voice throughout this? Because you have to have a little bit of zhush, right, to be able to be in the media and be a personality and stuff. Did you just kind of fake it till you make it and learn as you went, or how did
Yeah,
you?
fake it till you make it is probably what I'm all about. And get comfortable, then try to be yourself.
Yeah.
And that was good enough.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you, and with that, how did you take Benedictine with you through all that? Because you're kind of climbing the ladder into really publicity and, the fame, if you will, quote unquote. So like, how did you navigate just your Benedictine roots and maybe a little bit of humility?
When I was a freshman, it was in St. Michael's Hall, and I used this when I was a good recruiter. And I'd go into somebody's house and I'd ask a question that anybody in the room could answer. And whoever answered the question, I would direct my pitch to. and the fathers many times were in the business. And I said, I was a freshman in St. Michael's Hall, and I had a biology course, which I knew I wouldn't do any good at. And worse yet, it was at 8 o'clock in the morning. Got to the point where after the first 3, 4, 5 weeks, I was completely lost. I think, well, I'm going to drop this course, is what I'm going to end up doing. So I quit going to class. And Father Conrad was our prefect at Pillars. He was a chemistry teacher. And he said, I've seen your quarter grades. What's up with that? I said, well, he said, you don't go to biology class? I said, not like I should. Okay, well, we're going to fix that. I said, all right. So every morning about 6 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays, he would come downstairs to my dorm room and walk in and pinch my toes. He'd get me out of bed. We go to the St. Benedict's parish. He would say mass and I'd serve. Then we go to the cafeteria, and then we get done eating. He said, okay, now you go to class. And I said to people, give me another college in America, anywhere, where a priest would take that amount of time, a one-on-one, to make sure I got the class.
Yeah.
That worked when I was recruiting a lot.
Sure. I bet it did. And did you build a rapport with him then?
Yeah, he was he was a chemistry guy, and I knew everything but chemistry, and he found me amusing, and I liked him. He was known as a hard teacher, Father Conrad.
Yeah.
And chemistry teacher, and a lot of people took him, and it was really tough. But then when I started coaching, he sent his nephew from Cleveland to come play for me in Atchison.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was kind of full circle.
Yeah. Did you pass your biology class?
Yeah, I think I had a C minus.
That's what you need, right?
I just needed to get out of there.
Hey, taking a quick break from the conversation because I need you to get ready for the loudest, the proudest weekend of the year. It's coming up fast. Homecoming 2025, October 24th and 25th. We've got bed races that are defying gravity. We've got tailgates packed with food, music, and school spirit. Whether you're an alum, a student, or just love a good time, this is your weekend to come home. Don't miss Benedictine College Homecoming 2025, October 24th and 25th. So when you're out, so you're kind of killing it in your career, like, you're how many years out of, so it's what, is it the early 80s-ish that you're now working for Ted Turner and doing that in Atlanta?
I went to work, I was Rochester from 76, Washington 77, 78, and went to Atlanta in the start of 79.
Okay.
And I did 2 years of national television. He had the team for TV purposes. That's
so how did you take that in that environment? How did you take that, toe pinching priest to get you out of bed and do what you need to do with you now that you're kind of, living the high life in a way?
Usually, I had a reputation of not being qualified for any jobs I ever had. And I had that Hall of Fame induction here in St. Louis, and that's what the whole speech is about, where I didn't belong. How did I get that job? And so I just kind of forged my way in there. And once there, I figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
And I think the teaching that I received in Atchison, the way the monks prepared me to go out in the world and do my job. And being from East St. Louis was helpful. So
Sure.
Benedict's and East St. Louis are the reasons why I was able to have a career.
And probably you kind of got pigeonholed into being the soccer coach. So kind of being put in uncomfortable situations was kind of put on you here in a way.
Yeah. I was not in a way, it was direct.
Yeah.
But when they, like I said, the guys, when I first got it, they told me what they wanted in the program, and I did it, and then I learned the game well.
Yeah.
I went the game to the point of not being a coach, to where I went on television and I was the guy teaching people about the game.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. You seem like the type I haven't had the luxury of meeting you in person yet, but you seem like the type that when you're given something, you're all in and you have the
Right.
courage, the courage to be uncomfortable at the
Or,
beginning and then
or
get to a place where you're like, I got this and I know how to get, move the needle.
I turn a phrase all the time. I was too stupid to be afraid. I mean, really, I was never
Yeah,
intimidated. Again, that's the streets of St. Louis,
sure.
and not intimidated at all. And in my entire career, 50 years, I have a lot of pride when I tell you that I never, one day, did I ever do anything because I was afraid of losing my job. I always performed what I wanted to do, and I was never afraid to lose my job. And one afternoon at Turner, I was fired 3 times in one afternoon because I didn't do what they wanted. And I was too stupid to leave. And they kept coming back saying, "Are you still here? We need security." And then the guy I reported to, he's been president of CBS Sports as well as Ted. And he said, "Okay, look, here's what I want. I want that coach in that conference room in 2 hours." We'd played in Chicago the night before, and he's from Chicago, and we got beat badly, and he was angry. And he said, so he called me and said, "We're going to fire the coach tomorrow." I said, "Okay." And I thought about it. And the next morning, I went to his office. It was across town. I was in the stadium, and they were at Techwood by Georgia Tech. And I went over there, and I just said, I sat in his office, and he walked in and said, "So, what time's the news conference?" I said, "I didn't call one." "You didn't call one?" "No." "Okay, you're fired." "Oh, okay." So we left, and I didn't know what to do. I just sat there, and he came back. He says, "You're still here?" I went, yeah. "Huh, listen, you're fired." I went, "Okay." He leaves, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't being brave or anything. He comes back with the CFO of the company, Turner, who says, "Do we have to get security?"
Yeah.
And I don't know. And they leave again. And then the guy comes back again and goes, "Okay, listen, here's what we're doing. I want that coach in that conference room in 2 hours." And I said, "But I don't work for you anymore." And he goes, "Come on, don't push it." So I had the coach in there, and that's how I ended up getting hired by this guy to run the TV network because he liked my style.
Interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. And how old were you when all that happened?
Let's see. That would have been 1960, 1980. I was 32, maybe.
Wow. To have the guts to just be like, I don't know, like this is, like you're just you almost dug your heels in.
I did.
Yeah.
And the other thing was I coached soccer. I never done it.
Yeah.
I've done TV. I never done it.
Yeah.
I worked in pro golf. I don't play. And that was the theme about here's Hanson. Every job he's ever had, he never qualified for.
But yet you're so passionate about sports that probably overlapped all of the unknowns because in any industry, you can't know everything and you have such a passion for sports that it probably was just like, okay, here's something else I got to learn.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. I
Hmm.
did my best and kept my head down, and it
Yeah.
worked. It worked.
Yeah. How do you think over the years, media has just transformed, right? Like it's 24/7, it's instant. When you were in the thick of your career, you had to wait till 5 o'clock or you had to wait till the news broadcast. And now it's just we're inundated. How do you think that has hurt your industry?
Well, when I first started, I was talking to a lady named Mickey Palmer at the Atchison Globe. She did a lot of stories on us, and she was a good woman, and she came up and did a lot of stuff on us. So I get to DC in 2 years, and I find myself in the newsroom of the Washington Post,
Mm.
which is all the president's men. That was the famous newsroom. And I went to a phone in there, and I called her, and I said, "Mickey, I was just with you in Atchison, Kansas, in your office at the Globe. I'm sitting now in the newsroom of the Washington Post." She goes, "My goodness, how'd that?" I said, "I don't know, but I'm here."
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. If I read right, in 2005, an article was written about you about being in the right place at the right time.
Right.
Do you remember some of the things that they wrote about in that article?
Well, a couple of them were not even sports.
Right.
When I was coaching, there was a bootstrapper
Hmm.
who had a heart attack outside my office. I tried to save him with CPR. I'd been a trainer, so I couldn't save him. But three times later in my life, I saved people with CPR. Three out of
Wow.
four.
Wow.
Pretty good. And as I always said to people, this is kind of my motto. People say, say something. And I say, no, don't say something. Do something.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's kind of how I operate.
Yeah.
You do something.
In my career, I've been around a lot of very influential people, and the head of security of the venue that I worked at for a long time, his mantra is see something, say something, which kind of goes in step with what you're saying. Go do something. Don't just see it, or don't just say something about it. Like actually go do. So like his message is if you see it, then go say something and do something about it. If it seems strange or what have you. But I think
I would skip the say something.
and
I'd
just
go
go
right to do
do
something.
it, do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
just do
sure.
it. Just
Yeah,
Nike,
yeah,
just do it.
yeah. Right. Yeah. I think in a way though, would you agree that right place, right time is kind of you being at Benedictine during that season of your life in
I,
the
I
60s?
had I not gone to bed in college, I would probably ended up being a high school baseball coach in St. Louis. And that school gave me my entire career.
Mm.
And when I was a freshman in my sophomore year, I couldn't afford to come back. And I went to the dean of men, Father Lambert, and I said, I'm not going to be able to come back. And he goes, listen, you have a home here. I'll take care of you. And he made me a resident advisor at Newman Hall. I was named the head trainer. I had to learn how to do training, but head trainer for the basketball team. And the first year I was the head trainer for the basketball team, they won a national championship. So I just kind of, fake it till you make it kind of sounds bad. I mean, you went in there and I learned it as I was going. And again, too stupid to be afraid.
Yeah.
It's kind of what happened.
Well, and to have courage, have the courage to just like almost like common sense courage, just to try something. And if you fail, you fail, but you learn something along the way. What advice would you give to young adults, maybe Benedictine students or just young adults in general, that want to get into the media world, the sports world, broadcasting, being a media personality like yourself, since it is so different nowadays?
Well, when I did those 44 radio reports in 24, this show went into 16 states and 66 markets. So it was a uh, regionally syndicated, and classic rock was kind of the most stations were like classic rock. And I knew from that, of course, it means that a lot of people are like grandparents
Mm.
are listening. And so I went and I did a thing on something called Teamwork Online.
Hmm.
I'll send you this too. I brought this woman on who started the company. This is a company where if you want to work in sports, you sign up for free.
Hmm.
And then you say the jobs you want to get, and they look for you. And then even to the point where if you said something you want to do and something opens up, they'll send you an email, all free. And the way people get paid in executive search is you don't have to pay anything, but the client who gets it has to pay 1/3 of the first year's salary, and that's what to get paid.
Sure.
Executive search was a fun field for me. I did that too.
You've done a little bit of everything.
I have. I
And
have.
would you say to young people, just go do. Don't just sit around and talk about it. Go try. Go do things, get uncomfortable and try. Because it sounds like if you wouldn't have done all the things you did, been a fish out of water so many times in your career, you wouldn't have had such a tremendous career.
Well, when I was at Benedict's or Benedictine, St. Benedict's,
Yeah.
it's Benedictine College, but I graduated
Yeah.
St. Benedict's. When the season was over, between seasons, I would go on job interviews as a hobby. I mean, I interviewed for like 6 or 8 jobs that I had no intention of taking.
Just
I
to
just wanted,
practice.
I just wanted the reps
Yeah.
of being in interviews. That
Yeah.
helped me. And I went answered their questions. And there's nothing like being offered a job when you don't want it. And so I was offered a couple jobs I didn't want. And I said, well, thank you, but no thank you. And I got the rep doing it. And that kind of stuff helped me.
Yeah. And gave you confidence, I'm sure.
It did. And
Yeah.
when I was coaching, again, wanting to be in pro sports, St. Louis Cardinals, Joe Cunningham, who I watched as a kid, an outfielder, I heard he was looking for somebody to work with him. And so I called him and he answered the phone and I got really nervous. And he said, well, listen, next time you're in town, stop by and see me. Well, 2 weeks later, I said, I'm in town recruiting, which is a lie. And so we have this 15-minute interview, and which is no substance whatsoever. And he takes a call during the middle of it, and I hear what he had to say. And he had to go to Cuba, Missouri to pick up tickets, which is an hour and a half drive from St. Louis. And I said to him, would you like me to ride with you to Cuba? And he went, really? I went, yeah, why not? He goes, okay. So the first half hour I'm in the car, I said, look, I have to admit to you, I'm not here recruiting. I came to see you. And by the time we got back to St. Louis, I was hired by
Oh,
the Cardinals.
wow.
And I'm still coaching at Benedict's and I'm hired. And my St. Louis team I grew up with, my heroes. And
Uh-huh.
1 week, about 10 days after that, I got a call from the general manager saying the energy crisis back in those days, the Anheuser-Busch Brewery, who owned the team, put a freeze on new hires.
Oh,
Thank goodness I was able to go back, Father Gerard, get my job back. And you wouldn't know it, the next year was when we did 74, third place. I mean,
whoa.
it's kind of ended up working out.
Yeah. I bet in the moment though you were pretty let down.
I was terrible. I was,
Yeah.
I really was. But if had I taken that job, I would have then. They don't pay much money in pro sports. I'd have
Yeah.
been with my team I grew up with, but that I would have stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
And by not staying there and going to Washington and Atlanta and DC and
Yeah.
Rochester, that's kind of what made it happen.
That's tremendous. But you had the tenacity just to be like, hey, I'll go with you just to see. Like that's the thing that you're very admirable from just kind of taking the bull by the horns and just trying.
Well, I mean, not trying to be rude, but you got to push, and say this in sales. You
Right.
got to ask for the order, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go there talk all you want, but you got to ask for the order.
Right. Right.
And so I was asking for the order when I said that to him. And
Mm-hmm.
in other places, asking for the order, you got to ask. Nobody's going to volunteer.
Right.
I said, I'll ride with you. And he was a little stunned by that. But it got me the job.
Yeah.
And the business manager said to me, you don't want to take this job because you're a college baseball coach. I said, I do want to take it. And I was getting like a $1,500 a year salary less
Oh,
than I was
wow.
making in Atchison. I didn't care.
Yeah.
If I had I taken that job, I wouldn't have been enough these other places. So
Right.
The Lord was looking out for me.
Yeah, for sure. Do you, of all the jobs you've done, is there one that's just like, that's probably the 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 best one of all of the places you went, the teams you work for, the things you did?
I'd have to say two things. First
Yeah.
of all, being a coach out of college at St. Benedict's, that was the biggest thrill for me at that point in time because that made everything happen.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to Atlanta, the soccer team I did for 2 years, and soccer wasn't doing very well. And Ted closed the team after the second year. And he said to me at lunch one day, so what are you going to do? And I lied to him. I said, I'm just going to finish this team, get everybody sold, and then I'll worry about me, which really wasn't quite true. And he said, well, why don't you come see me this afternoon? So I did. Went over there, me and him. He liked me. And he goes, so you're a soccer guy. What do you want to do? I said, really, I'm a baseball guy. Baseball? I said, yeah. He goes, huh? Well, what does make you a vice president with the Braves? I said, the VP of what? He goes, I don't know. We'll figure that out. So I went home and I was thrilled. I'm going to be in Major League Baseball always.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this guy I reported to, who had been the president of CBS, called me at home and he goes, I heard you were turned today. What went down? I said, hey, I'm going to be a BP with the Braves. He goes, no, you're not. No, you're not. I go, what do you mean, no, I'm not? He goes, meet me for breakfast. And then he said to me, I'd like you to head up the sports division at Turner Broadcasting System. And I went, again, I've never done that before.
Right.
And let me go there and I could make my own path. I wasn't into production and cameras and tape machines, but I was into sales. And I went to the sales department and said, hey, look, I'll help you. That was a unicorn for them. And Ted Turner said to me, everybody in your job spends money. You also make it.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked. And again, nothing but instinct.
And a little bit of the Holy Spirit, maybe.
Oh, yeah. You kidding? Always on my shoulder.
Yeah, right. Okay, so we could probably talk for hours, Terry, but tell me what it means to you when I say once a Raven, always a Raven.
Well, like I said, and I come to Atchison, I would be a high school baseball coach. And I've stayed in touch over all these years, came back a lot with soccer, mostly soccer because all those guys were together. And baseball, they were all strewn around the country. And so it wasn't quite as close together as everybody else. But just recently, in fact, I'm having a lunch with Eric Peterson with Joanne Huey. We're going to talk about baseball. I want to help him raise some money.
That's great. Well, Terry, I think not only from a Benedictine perspective, but from a sports broadcasting perspective, your legacy is tremendous. And what I've loved and what I've learned just in talking to you is you leaned into chance and you allowed opportunities to happen to you and
Right.
with your energy and with your courage too. So I commend you for that. And I thank you for being a great role model. And thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
This was fun for me. I mean, again, I owe everything I have to going to Atchison, Kansas to go to college.
Hey, thanks for joining us on Always a Raven. New episodes will drop every Tuesday, and you're not going to want to miss any of them because we've got some pretty amazing guests coming up. They are reigniting the hearts of Ravens throughout all generations across all industries, and they are incredible. Be sure to like and follow us on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss any episodes. And if you're a new Raven or a potential Raven, be sure to check out our website at benedictine.edu. And remember, once a Raven, always a Raven.